Hello there and welcome once again to Red Gaming Tech for your daily dose of the latest gaming news as of the 25th of June. My name is Amata and today I have some news for you concerning Saints Row 4, which has actually been banned for release in Australia in its current form, but both publisher Deep Silver and developer Volition have said that they will be reworking some of the code in a bid to create a version of the game that can be released in the country. And as some of you may know, the game is the first title to be denied a rating in Australia under the guidelines for the classification of computer games that came into effect on January 1st, 2013. As I'm sure most of you do know, prior to that, Australia did not have an adult category for computer games. And this is what they had to say in their official statement. In the board's opinion, Saints Row 4 includes interactive visual depictions of implied sexual violence which are just not justified by context. In addition, the game includes elements of illicit or prescribed drug use related to incentives or rewards. Such depictions are prohibited by the computer games guidelines. And Classification Board Acting Director Donald MacDonald added this. Apart from Desai's decision, since the beginning of the year, the board has classified 17 games R18+ under the new guidelines. And Deep Silver had this to say regarding this issue. Volition, the developer, are reworking some of the code to create a version of the game for this territory by removing the content which could cause offence without reducing the outlandish gameplay that Saints Row fans know and love. Saints Row 4 has been awarded PEGI 18 and ESRB M ratings where fans can enjoy their time in Steelport as originally intended. Wow, so that kind of sucks. But Saints Row is known for being a bit insane, let's just be honest, and Saints Row 3 especially really pushed the envelope with how crazy that game actually was, with weapons that would just do crazy stuff to them, beating people with giant dildos, all of this stuff that was, probably quite questionable to a review board, let's just be honest. Obviously, Saints Row 3 is a very, very good game, and people obviously love the outlandishness, the craziness, and just the pure silliness of the game, especially when gaming has gotten so serious in the last few years. It's nice to have a game like Saints Row 3 that just lets you be silly, and I think that there is a place for that, and it's a real shame that it looks like those of you in Australia are not going to be able to enjoy the game as it was intended to be played, because obviously they will have to remove something if they want it to be released in that country at all. How much they'll have to remove, I don't know. It depends on how deep in these particular elements are. Perhaps it was only a couple of sections of the game that they thought, oh no, that's pushing it a bit too far. But I don't know. They haven't really said. All they've said is that it has a couple of things which they don't think are right, like the implied sexual violence and the use of drugs and so on, or use related to incentives or rewards. So maybe those two bits will only have to be removed, but for all I know, those kind of bits are all over the game and a lot's going to have to be cut out. It's really tough to say. What I hope is that the final product will not be affected too much, that the game will still be the same at heart with just a few minor tweaks to get it released in the country. I'm sure they're going to try that at first and see if they can then get it released, and then if they get it failed again, take even more out, but let's just hope that the full game isn't tarnished too much for the Australian audience, because obviously they want to play Saints Row 4 as much as we do, and unfortunately they're not going to get the same game that we do due to this problem. So let's just fingers crossed for them that not too much of the game has to actually be changed or taken out to make it actually sellable in that country, because that would just be a real shame. And although this is great that they've got this new classification, because before this, obviously, they were disallowing games left, right and centre because there was no adult category. Obviously, since then, more games have been able to release in Australia, which is fantastic. However, I suppose there had to be a first game to fall foul of that classification. And Saints Row 4, unsurprisingly, I suppose, given the nature of that series, has been that one. So let's just see what happens. I'd be curious to actually see when the game comes out if an Australian viewer out there says, oh yeah, I've seen people's let's plays of the American version or the European version or whatever, and this and this has been taken out. I'd just be curious to see the differences, basically. Anyway, that's me done for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.